Hello everybody! Welcome to Scrapcraft and Stitchery. My name is Christina. I am working on this mini journal, which I am calling my Maximal Mini Journal. And I made the cover already, and I needed to find signature pages for this. So I saw Biddy Penny had shown us how to make on their channel rolling pages, and I thought that this would be great to give this a really rich kind of look to my pages, because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But when I saw that, I was like super excited, because I was like, that's what I want to do. And so I made 120 inches of rolling pages for my Maximal Mini Journal, which I feel like is appropriate, because I figured out that I was going to need, if I wanted to, I figured for 5 signatures for this. This has got 1.5 inches for the spine, and I was hoping to be able to put in 5 signatures, but I might not get that many. I might get 3 or 4, and I'm going to do 6 signatures. So I figured out what I needed to do 5, and if I have extra rolling pages, that's great. But look at what I did. This is 120 inches of using up my book pages, and I just used pretty plain. Some of these are kind of interesting, but these are all, I just went for like plain. There's not a lot of images in here. Sometimes there's a few scraps from my scrap pile in here. But mostly, this is just the 120 inches of book page. And I really like this layout because you can roll it up and have this large scroll. And so I'm going to just start cutting these up. And what I'm thinking is I can get, for my mini journal, I can do 2 pages per cut, because this is about 11.5 inches, and this is 6 inches tall by 4 inches. Let's measure this. But this is what I did. And I kept them all pretty neutral because I tested it out with using some more scraps and stuff. And I think that's what I want to do. And then I think I want to try and do some sewing and stitching on the pages before I assemble this. But right now, I'm just going to go ahead and cut these down. And so I already made a sample signature before I made this 120 inches to finish filling this in. And I want to do 6 pages to keep these kind of reasonable. I usually do 10 or 12 pages per signature, but I'm going to do 6 this time. And that's what this is. And these are just so absolutely luscious and beautiful, and they have so much depth and feeling to them, and they're all a little bit different. And I'm super excited to just work with these. So this is what it looks like. And once I've made this, and it just took me a couple of hours of pretty easy pasting to put this together. And so now I'm going to cut these up and make the pages and see how many I can fit reasonably into this book and still have room to decorate. And I was just super excited to find this idea, so I wanted to try it out, and now I'm sharing it with you again. And I will link the video where Biddy Penny did this in the comments below if you want to look at that, and I suggest that you do, because she has like all these beautiful different pages. So look for that link below. What I am going to do So what I want to do is I want to tear them, because I want to have this like torn edge feeling to these. So I'm going to tear these at, so first of all, let's measure my cover and then measure these signatures, because these signatures like really fit in here pretty well. And my roll is between 11 and 11 and a half inches, depending on where it's at. And this book is right around 6 inches. So these, if I go a page here and a page here, it works out pretty well to fill out this space, because that gives me a little bit less than 6 inches. So what I need, and why I made so much of this, and I figured it all out and did the math, and so I figured I needed to do 5 signatures with 6 pages each. I needed 120 inches, and I did it. And I'm going to mark this, so I don't have to do math in my head while I'm doing this. Let me mark these. If I start here and I end there, that will be 8 inches. I'm going to mark it up here, and maybe down at the bottom. See if I can make this easier for myself. You could, of course, cut these on a paper cutter too, but I just want the torn look, so I'm going to use my cutting mat and tear this with my ruler. I think that is 8, and I'm just going to put this right there so I have a place to line up my ruler. And then I'm going to double check this and make sure I counted correctly. Okay. Sure enough, it's 8. Okay. 8 inches. Here we go. And so these are a little bit difficult to tear, but not too bad. You just kind of want to be careful. Some of these book pages are obviously kind of old and difficult to tear, wear. They're layered up. This was so much fun, and I got to burn through a significant amount of my book pages. Not anywhere near all of my book pages. I still have a great stash of this, and that's kind of the exciting thing about this, is that you get to use up a lot of the stuff that you probably already just have. So each one of these, keep in mind, sheets is going to make me 2 sheets, and obviously a great thing, and I'm super excited because I do think I'm going to have some of this left over, and I can do this and make bigger book pages. And this would be really cool if you wanted to combine this with other book pages, other pages in your signature, and to just have this as one of your page types. And I'm super excited to try that as well, and kind of have this as an idea for something I can add in for interest in my journals when I have like more eclectic mixes of pages. But for this, I think I want to just keep it, use this one page type as a way to really, so this is enough for one signature, and then this will be for the next signature. And I'm going to do 3, since I already have the 1. I'm going to do 2 more of this, and that'll give me enough to have 3 signatures. And then I'm going to like make those signatures up and just see what it's going to look like in my book, so I'm not, you know, winding up with no room left to decorate. That is, and I need 1 more, and that'll give me 3, so I can get a good idea. And if I have more of this roll, like I said, this is great because you can do a lot of different things with this. Very similar to making master boards. I have master boards. This is tearing a lot easier than I thought it was going to. So I still have enough for, here I would have enough for, I made enough for 5 signatures, and I've torn out 2 plus the one that I already have. So still have enough to do 3 more signatures here. Hopefully I'm not going on too much. At the top and the bottom, I found it was a little bit, it was good to, and what I did before is I just folded this in half because it's a little bit different from the top and the bottom. Just a little bit, depending on how you get these book pages arranged. It was probably a good idea, I found, to keep your ruler nearby as you were doing this, or mark it out on your grid so you can kind of stay easier where you want to be. But these are lovely, and they're just so rich and neat and interesting all by themselves. And this book, this dictionary page that I'm using is fairly brittle, and I'm going to come back and put a piece of probably, Bitty Penny shows you how to make like a vintage tape with an brown alcohol marker and some Scotch tape. I'm probably going to go back, and any cracks I get like this, I'll repair it with just a piece of scrap paper, like an avocado dyed paper or a coffee dyed paper, and put over that, I think is what I'm going to do. But you could definitely go check that out and make some interesting tape, or you could just use washi tape, depending on what you want your journal to look like. And so that's what I'm doing today, and I'm super excited to go stitch on these and see what I like. And that was kind of the other thing. When I used some of my scraps on this, I wasn't really happy with that outcome for this. So, and I liked just using the really kind of neutral background pages out of my stash. So some of these are from novels, and there's some textbooks. I have a couple different textbooks in here, and a lot of novels, and the dictionary page. Just putting this together to see what it's going to look like, make sure it's going to fit in my book. See, this part I got down to probably closer to 11 inches, so I'm probably going to go and mix these up as well so that they kind of play well nicely together. And some of them will be taller, a little bit taller, and some of them will be a little bit shorter. And I like that a lot. And that one's rolled the other way, but I think, isn't that just gorgeous? So I will mix these when I have taller and shorter signatures and kind of give them a mix so that when you're going through the book, they're all going to be different sizes. I was so happy when I saw this. I saw it yesterday, and pretty much got started right away because it was the answer to the question that I had of what am I going to do with this book. And some of this, oh, that's going to be a whole page of just sideways text. And you can turn your pages however you want. Orientate, is that a word? So you can do that in any direction that you choose so that you could have all of your pages are right side up in your roll, which is also very cool because I always want to put book pages in, and I do, and I just stick it in the middle of a signature, and then it's all sideways. And I'm never quite satisfied with that. I'm going to fold this one this way. See if I can get that. It's kind of in a bad place for folding. I found this German book. that. I will probably put something down, just a scrap on that to kind of hold that down. I did include some scraps in here as well as I was going along, and you could certainly put in more or less of your scrap pile depending on what you want to do. But I think it's great to just be able to have this use for book pages. I'm going to keep going with this and just keep making them. That one goes with this signature. I'm just kind of counting as I go along. Fold this in half. And I did, when I did mine, as you probably were watching, if you were watching, saw how I turned my pages in different directions. So I tried to keep them right side up and not have things upside down. But I did put a lot of the things sideways, and I like how it looks like it's just a pile of papers that have been thrown out on a desk. I kind of really find that to be an interesting look, and I like it a lot. Ooh, we lost that piece. Let's just tear that off. But I think these are going to be really kind of an interesting look and fun to play with and go in and decorate. I did think about putting a little bit of watercolor over the top of these, and that's kind of a thing that I will probably do later. But again, I didn't want to do that necessarily right away at the beginning, because it'll be super easy while you have this big roll to kind of start to decorate it. And Biddy Penny does have a video on that too, which is really interesting, where she starts pulling out different things from her scraps and different things that she has added to these with decorative napkins and things while it's still in the scroll, which is really, really fun. It's just fun to have this like large piece of, you know, collage background to use. And I mean, I've made book covers out of master boards before, and that is very similar to this, and I really like that look for my journals. It's just very fun and great thing to work, just a great rich background to work on. So I will have to decide if I want to paint on some of these or not all of these. I kind of have decided that I want to go with this like plum and pink, or burgundy and pink color scheme for this throughout this book to kind of tie it together, and I liked this being neutral background to begin with. But you could do lots of just fun, eclectic pages from all kinds of things with illustrations and stuff, and I think that that would be brilliantly fun as well. So I am finished with this. So that's, I think, great. We can kind of measure now and see how full this is going to feel in here. I think this would be really fun to mix in with like a lot of different kinds of papers too. So again, I'm super excited to have this as a option for just putting pages into my journals, because I really love to be able to have as many options as possible for what to put in there. I like to put in graph paper. I have some like graph paper from laboratory notebooks that I got that was just very, very cool. But this kind of gives me an option to include these book pages, which is great. which I didn't really have before, and now I have. So this is fun, and I do think I'm going to be able to fit in at least one more signature in here, if not two. How big are we? Maybe I can. So that's about where we're at now, about what that looks like. These are a little bit thicker than like just regular paper. And like, look, the collaging is done for you already. So you can just kind of come in and start with this. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to keep making signatures, and then I will go back and kind of mix in so that these don't have to be, since these are all taller. And I think I'll probably get some taller pages, but just kind of mix these in. What do you guys think? Are you excited? So once I get this done, I will for sure go back and I want to do some stitching and maybe stitch in some pockets on the sewing machine before I do this. I don't know if I'm going to do all of the pages. I don't know how many. I don't know, I might not like it once I get there down there and start stitching on this, but that is what I'm doing with this, and I think it's gonna be brilliant. Even these kind of shorter pages are gonna fit in here really nicely, so we have a little bit of variety. It's gonna be very interesting. So that is all I have today, was showing you this, and I will be back once I have these pages stitched and all of the pages are assembled. Thanks for being here today, and then we can get into decorating this and putting this, assembling this book. I also need to come up with something to kind of, since this is supposed to be a maximal design, I need to find something to put on the cover of this, and that's going to be fun too. So stay tuned. I will be back to work on my Maximal Mini Journal. I just am so excited about this size format. Thanks for joining me today. Check out the links below. Comment, tell me what you think. Do check out the description and go see that video from Bitty Penny where she shows how she made these rolling pages. Very fun, very fun. I suggest you try it. Use up some of your pages. Thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, and share. Bye.